When you look at a map of the Earth and you look at all the water on Earth, you should be able to see that about 80% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. So this is the majority of Earth's surface covered in water. This is another reason why they call Earth the blue planet, because we have so much water that covers the surface. The bottom image, if you look at it, you see that all of the continents have been grouped together. Well, if we could group all of our continents together, it makes it easier to see how much water really is covering the Earth. So this second picture is just showing you that we have definitely 80% or roughly 80% of water covering the Earth. And this is an easier way to understand that in this second picture. Oceans cover the majority of the water on Earth. So roughly 97.2% of Earth's water is in the oceans as salt water. The facts that you need to know about the oceans and salt water are, the first one is, water on Earth is divided into categories based on salinity, which means how much salt the water contains. So you need to know that salinity is talking about how much salt is in water. If we're talking about the oceans are salt water. So that salt water has a high salinity, which means it has 35 grams of salt per kilogram of water. And we will learn more about this in lab this week. The next fact is all oceans have a high salinity due to the sun heating up the water molecules, causing them to evaporate. So in the oceans where there's salt water, thinking back to our last lesson with the water cycle, the sun heats the water evaporates into the air, but the salt stays behind in the ocean. So the salt does not evaporate, causing the oceans to have a high salinity. The water in the oceans is not suitable for humans to drink. We cannot survive off drinking salt water. And make sure that you know that all the oceans are connected. If you look at the picture of the oceans in the bottom corner, you can see that every one of those oceans is connecting or is touching. The next type of water we're going to talk about is frozen fresh water. 2.15% of Earth's water is frozen in ice caps and glaciers. Facts you need to know about ice caps and glaciers, which in class we're going to call this frozen fresh water, is that frozen fresh water is ice caps and glaciers. So this is just fresh water with low salinity that's just frozen. Glaciers, like we've talked about before, are slow-moving rivers of frozen ice. This is the largest source of fresh water on the planet. So the largest source of fresh water that we have is frozen, which means that we cannot use it unless it melts. So actually this frozen fresh water, humans cannot use to help us live and to use in our everyday lives. So it's inaccessible for us. The water that we can access and the water that we do use is liquid fresh water. On Earth, 0.65% of Earth's fresh water is found in lakes, streams, groundwater, and water vapor in the atmosphere. So this is less than 1% of all water on Earth is fresh water that we can use, and this fresh water is located on the land in lakes, streams, groundwater, or in the atmosphere. Facts that you need to know is that fresh water has low salinity, which means it has less than 1 gram of salt per kilogram of water. So it still has salt. There's still salt in fresh water. It's just a very, very small amount. The definition of a lake is a freshwater body of water surrounded on all sides by land. A river is a natural waterway that comes from a source, such as a frozen mountaintop that melts or a lake. And that source or that water is going to flow downhill, usually into the ocean, a gulf, or a sea. So basically our fresh water that's in our lakes and rivers flows across our land and eventually ends up in the ocean. We have a lot of different uses for our liquid fresh water on Earth. We use water for agriculture, which would be farming, fisheries, transportation, heating and cooling, manufacturing, and then many other purposes. Unfortunately, unless we use our fresh water wisely, rivers, lakes, and groundwater can become depleted, which means we'll run out of fresh water, or polluted, which would mean contaminated, and unable or unsuitable for life. So we really need to make sure that we are conserving or saving our fresh water so that we don't run out of it, because less than 1% of all the water on Earth has to be used for every person on Earth in the world. So we really got to make sure we're saving this water. To summarize what you need to know about the distribution of water on Earth, or how the water is broken down on Earth, remember 80% of the whole Earth is covered in water. That's both salt and fresh water. If we take all of that 80% of water and we break it down even farther, we see, especially looking at our pie chart, that 97% of all the water on Earth is salt water, which we can't use. Roughly 2% of water is frozen in ice caps and glaciers, and if you look at your pie graph, it's the purple section that would represent our ice caps and glaciers. That's the frozen fresh water that we can't use. And the liquid fresh water is less than 1%, and that is the blue piece of our pie chart. And that 1% or less than 1% is liquid fresh water that we can use as humans, and it's found in lakes, streams, groundwater, and water vapor in the atmosphere.